Well, good afternoon, guys. You guys know I love to cook in the woods when I'm backpacking, hiking, or just out camping, so it should come as no surprise to you today that I have another stove review for you. If you're like me, guys, my favorite way to cook in the woods is over an open fire. Now, there's no debating the versatility and the convenience and just the things that stoves or camp stoves bring to the table as far as cooking goes. There's no debating that in my mind. However, there's a certain romance about cooking over an open fire that you can't really debate that much of either. And that's actually one of the most consistent comments that I get when I do a stove review is, well, you know, Joe, that's a good looking stove, but I just prefer to cook over an open fire. Well, today I want to show you a stove that kind of marriages those two. It gives you the convenience of a stove, but gives you the romance and the experience of cooking over an open fire. And that stove is, guys, it's called the 180 stove from 180 Tack. Hang with me and I'll tell you all about it. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I do appreciate your time and choosing to be here with me today. Like I said, it is the 180 stove from 180 Tack. Let's go ahead and get this out of the package and I'll show it to you. But while I am, it is constructed out of high quality stainless steel. As far as setup, it is one of the most simple that I've used. It folds down just like that. Comes with some razor bands to keep everything together. As far as weight, guys, get this where you can see it. Comes in at right around a half a pound, a hair more. And like I said in the intro, guys, this stove actually does kind of bring together the experience of cooking over an open fire, as well as adding the convenience of using a stove to your cooking experience, so to speak. Let me get this over to my fire pit, get it set up, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, guys, real quick, as I mentioned before, setup is extremely easy on the stove. Basically come with 6 pieces. You have the walls, the back, and then you have these fire sticks or whatnot. They go across the top to act as a pot stand and or a grill. You just slide this tab on the back plate through the corresponding slot on the wall of the stove, and it comes together like so. You take your fire sticks or whatnot and pop them in these tabs on each side of the wall. And it holds everything together. Extremely easy setup. Also, I would like to point out here that they do manufacture and offer, separate from this stove, an ash pan. You can set the stove on, it fits down inside it. It fits down inside it nice and neat. So if you need to protect the ground from coals catching on fire, stuff like that, this is an available option. So guys, as you can see, extremely simple setup, extremely easy, not a lot of parts to get lost or to break. So it's simple, but that doesn't mean it's not versatile. This is basically a pot stand. You can have this, you can build your fire and set this down on it to use it as a pot stand. You can also use this upper portion as a grill if your meat's big enough not to fall down in between. To set hot dogs, bratwurst, whatever you want to cook, this will work for. I've basically done it all. But at the same time, you have a nice, sturdy, and extremely strong base to set your pot or your cup if you want to make coffee or soup or something like that. You also can, the head spacing is perfect for a Trangia stove if you want to use this as a windbreak and put your Trangia stove up under there. You can also use like gel fuels, like a can of Sterno or something like that up under there, or the little fuel tabs. I would suggest, if you're going to use fuel tabs, to use that ash pan. Well guys, to get this going, you have 2 options. Number one, you can put the stove where you want it, put your fire material in there and light it and let it get established that way. That works well, it works fine. Or you can move the stove off to the side, get your fire going, and then put the stove back on top of it. I've done it both ways several times. It doesn't really matter which way. It honestly just depends on how big of a hurry you are. You can get a good coal base faster if you put the stove to the side, light your fire, and get going that way. But when you go to put the stove back on, you kind of have to move the coals around and just get the stove adjusted to however your fire lay has ended up. So that being said, guys, today we're going to set the stove aside, build a fire, and put the stove on top. For those that are curious, this is a Bark River Squad Leader, which is in the Bravo line. It is one of their quote-unquote tactical offerings. You guys can expect a full workup review of it in a couple weeks probably. We've got a few to do ahead of it. Like I said, you don't have to go too crazy. A little prep will go a long way with this stove. Alright, we'll let that burn down for just a minute. Start adding a little bit of larger fuel, and we'll come back, put our stove on it, and get to cooking. Just kind of take a stick and shape your coals as best you can. There you go. That's simple. Alright guys, well I apologize for the wind. We got a storm moving in. Not supposed to be here for a couple hours, but the wind's picked up. We are keeping things simple today. I am going to grill some pork chops and roasted apple. That should be enough. We just munch on that while our pork chops cook. A little bit big for this stove, but we will make do. But just to kind of bring together all my comments like I've been mentioning, I really like the extremely simple setup. It's pretty light for its footprint. It works great as a pot stand. There's enough surface area on this grill or whatnot on top that you can cook a small to medium-sized piece of meat and still have room over to the side to, you know, make a cup of coffee or a broth or something else. It folds down nice and relatively flat, so you can fit it just in about anywhere in your kit and it not be obtrusive or in the way. And one of the things that really stands out to me, guys, is the simple act of lighting the fire and burning the fuel that you need, and just enough to get done what you need to get done. There's nothing extra, there's nothing wasted. Yet at the same point in time, like I said in the beginning, it kind of marriages the act or the process of using a cook stove with an open fire. So if you're wanting an open fire but you need a pot stand, or you want a grill to cook some meat like we're doing here, you know, you could, the footprint of the fire could be big and you could have that experience of an open fire, but at the same time you still have your cook stove that'll nestle down into the coals and cook what you need to cook. Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and pull these off before they burn. My fire's kicked back up. Kind of warm, folks. There we go. Take that small one off. Do a little taste test for you guys. I'm gonna move this coal base around so I can slow cook this larger one a little bit more, make sure it's done. Beautiful. All right, the moment of truth, folks. One of my absolute favorite ways to eat pork chops. It's got a smoky, sweet crust on it from the apples and the wood smoke. Nice and tender. Absolutely amazing. Now, I know you guys don't want to sit here and watch me eat the whole thing. So stop the video right here, just hit pause, run outside, make your own, come back in and join me. All right, folks, well that pretty much does it for this 180 Tack stove. You know, I hope I showed off what I wanted to today, that it really marriages the convenience of a cook stove over the experience of cooking over an open fire. That is one of the highlights of using a stove. It's extremely simple to set up, yes, but it's also pretty versatile. Multiple fuels are able to be used under. You can use it as a grill or a pot stand or whatnot. So just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's not versatile. Anyway, guys, the price point on this stove is right around 50 bucks depending on where you buy it. So I will leave all the relevant links in the description of this video. I encourage you guys to check it out, figure out if it's a good option for you. One other thing I want to tell you about, guys, while I've got you here, Kurt Linville, he is the kind of the brainchild behind this stove. He's the owner of the company as well. He also runs a podcast, guys. If you're into adventure sports, outdoor sports, stuff like that, whether hiking, backpacking, kayaking, mountain climbing, you know, basically the sky's the limit. If it's outdoors, it's a sport, he pretty much kind of covers that. He runs a podcast on his website where he interviews the athletes in adventure sports, whether it's climbing Mount Everest or a thru hike on the Appalachian Trail or kayaking down the Mississippi. I've really been enjoying listening to his podcast on the way home. I spend a decent amount of time in my truck driving back and forth to work, and it gives me something to do. It's very entertaining, very informative, and a lot of us live in the real world where we have to work and stuff like that. And so this podcast has been really neat for me in that it kind of gives me a taste of being outdoors even when I don't have the time to be. So anyway, guys, that link will be in the description as well. I encourage you to check it out if podcasts are your thing. Anyway, folks, again, thanks for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it, found it helpful. If you did, please, as usual, hit that thumbs up button. It does help me out quite a bit. Seems simple, but it does help. Also, guys, if you enjoy camp cooking videos, bushcraft, gear reviews, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below to keep up with what's going on my channel. And as always, guys, hit up that comment section. Let's talk about this stove, other stove options that you would like to make me aware of or you would like to share with other folks here on YouTube. Anyway, again, thanks for being here today, guys. I really appreciate your time. I will see you next time. Have a great day, guys.